You have always been told that good posture is crucial in order to maintain your body healthy, and it makes sense. Discomfort and pain can easily be the result of the poor management of your body in your daily life. But could posture also influence your well-being in other ways? Well, it turns out that it can literally hack your brain. If you want to find out something more about this amazing process and learn how to use this to your advantage, this episode is for you. Hi, I'm Davide Fiori, movement specialist, osteopath, and founder of Functional Vibes, and this is Vibes in Action. It is no mystery that your mind can affect your body. If you're stressed out, as we discussed in episode number 3 of this podcast, you can easily experience a stomachache or an increase in heart rate. When you are sad or depressed, chances are that you tend to feel tired and out of energy. On the contrary, when you are excited, the fatigue seems to disappear. Now, the question here is, does it also work the other way around? I mean, can your body have an impact on your mind? The answer is yes, and believe me, this is great news if you know how to take advantage of it. Here's how the mind-body relationship can be summarized. A specific behavior, that is what you actually do by using your body, stimulates the production or the inhibition of specific neurochemicals, mostly neurotransmitters and hormones. This modifies your emotions and, as a result, your perception of reality. The last step of the process, but definitely not the least important, is a change in your behavior, which can impact significantly how you deal with your life. One of the clearest examples of this process in practical terms is the huge positive impact of exercise and sport on people's psychophysical well-being. In fact, the increased production of biochemicals such as serotonin, endorphins, or dopamine can change your mood for the better, boost your motivation, and alter the perception of pain. Now, if we think about posture in a broad way, it is pretty clear that it is not only important in terms of biomechanics, but it is also a powerful way to communicate. The experts define the way you use your body to communicate as non-verbals. And we all know that non-verbals govern how people think and feel about each other. Think about this scene. Two people talking, one of them standing with chest out and hands on her hips, the other one with arm crossed and head down. Who of the two is probably dominant? The answer is pretty easy, right? What is often less clear instead is whether non-verbals, including posture, are able to influence how we think and feel about ourselves. The answer is yes, they are. Because just like other behaviors, they have the power to trigger the cascade mechanism I've shared with you a few minutes ago. The desire to prove that our minds can change our bodies, and also the reverse is true, was what pushed the team of researchers to run an amazing experiment. Now please listen carefully, because the outcomes I'm going to share with you are astonishing. The social psychologist Amy Cuddy and her team took two groups of people and got a sample of saliva in order to measure their levels of testosterone and cortisol. The reason why they decided to analyze these two chemicals is the fact that testosterone is the hormone linked to power and dominance in both the animal and human worlds, while cortisol is also known as the stress hormone, which can over time cause impaired immune functioning, hypertension, and memory loss. Then they asked the participants to bet in order to measure their risk tolerance. The next crucial step was to ask one group of people to place themselves in a so-called low-power pose, and the other group to choose a high-power pose. The participants were then asked to maintain these positions for only 2 minutes. Just to make it clear, people in low power poses were kind of closed up, with slouched back and arms crossed, making themselves small. On the contrary, high power poses were characterized by the chest kept out, the hands on the hips or behind the head, and the arms open. 2 minutes later, the researchers asked the participants to gamble and took a new sample of saliva in order to measure the levels of testosterone and cortisol. The results were clear and extraordinary. The risk tolerance improved by 86% in the high power poses group. The production of testosterone increased by 20% in the high power poses group and decreased by 10% in the low power poses group. It means that there was a gap of 30% in testosterone stimulation between the two groups. The cortisol level, conversely, decreased by 25% in the high power poses group and increased by 15% in the low power poses group. In this case, the gap in cortisol stimulation between the two groups reached up to 40%. The combination of the increase in testosterone and decrease in cortisol in the high power poses group is the most interesting outcome in this study. In fact, the powerful effect of testosterone could be impaired by a high level of cortisol. Conversely, a decrease of cortisol production reveals a good stress tolerance. This study proves that only 2 minutes lead to huge hormonal changes, which configure your brain to be either assertive, confident, and comfortable, or prone to be stressed out and feeling low. Can you imagine how positive the impact on your well-being could be if you just learned how to use this to your advantage? First thing you should do from now on is to look at your posture from another perspective. You have just learned that wrapping yourself up or slouching your shoulders can not only increase your muscular tension and pain, it could actually feed a vicious circle, draining your energy and exposing you to stress. In episode number 2 of this podcast, I suggested to change your position as much as possible during your working day. Now you have one more element to consider when it comes to choosing one position or another. Just remember that if you are able to keep your chest out, your spine long, your head up, and your arms and legs open, chances are that you will feel more powerful and ready for a challenge. And if getting into the habit of opening up your posture seems hard, try at least to put into practice what you have just learned when it's really necessary. Before important events such as, for example, an exam, a job interview, or a pitch, avoid closing yourself up, maybe slouching on your smartphone. On the contrary, place yourself for a couple of minutes in a high power pose. Play the role of the winner. And if you have the impression of faking it, don't worry. It's sometimes a necessary step to change your body and mind. That's all for today. Now it's your turn. Try to put into practice what you just learned, and as usual, feel free to ask questions or suggest new self-care related topics for the new episodes. If you want to support this podcast, please put a like on the YouTube video and share it on your social media. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your time and attention, and see you next week.